The Bat Chat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bat Chat. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve.
We are finally back to talking about Batman the Animated Series episodes, and the episode in question this week is Paging the Crime Doctor, with Steve's favorite recurring character in this series, Leslie Tompkins.
She's not quite as awful in this one. Mostly because she kind of disappears.
I don't think she's bad at all in this episode. I think she's fine.
I feel like there's stuff here. Like, she's just kind of annoyingly sarcastic to Batman, but maybe that's just her character at this point.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. You've got like this. You got this weird beef with this character that I do not understand.
I mean, she's so annoying. I don't like her. It mostly comes from the comics. It comes from that 90s era when she was just she was just an awful person to everyone.
I remembered really disliking this episode when I was a kid, and I had an okay watch of it this time. It'll be interesting to talk about it with you.
Yeah, I like it. I consider it part of like the same type of stories as like Never Too Late, where like Batman's trying to save someone's soul.
Yeah, exactly. And where somebody else has the character arc.
Yeah.
Well,
and I enjoy
that a lot, but where like a one-shot character has a character arc.
Yeah, and it's fun that these types of characters don't really come back. It's kind of just left up to the imagination whether or not how well they learn their lesson and where they go.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that he didn't come back. I don't know what else you'd say with him.
Yeah, we'll get there, but I also love the final scene.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? If you want to watch the episode with us, make sure and get out your DVDs or go to Amazon Prime, however you want to watch it. Get it to timestamp 0 and make sure that you're watching Season 2, or I guess Volume 2, Episode 25, Paging the Crime Doctor, and get ready to press play when I say now. I just want to make sure I've got my subtitles. Here we go. All right, everybody, please press play right now!
Good old classic intro.
It just feels like 16 years since we've done this, Steve.
I know, right? We went on hiatus. A really long Young Justice-style hiatus.
Yeah, that's right. I have missed it.
Have you seen the Lego Movie's done a lot of parodies of Batman stuff, but they actually did a recreation of this intro in Lego form with, like, heavy rock music, and it's hilarious.
I haven't seen that. I saw a YouTube channel that did it that was pretty cool.
Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't know what other YouTube channels did it, but they did it specifically with Will Arnett. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to it. Yeah, it's really fun.
The one I saw, to avoid copyright flag, did a really amusing orchestral, like MIDI version of this song, but it wasn't exactly the song. It danced around the melody, which often annoys me, at least in like licensed things. But there was kind of funny because it was tongue in cheek about it.
I love Lego recreations. Mike Barr is part of the writing credit for this episode. I don't like Mike Barr Batman. He's a really good idea guy that never really goes far enough with them. He's the guy that did Year 2 and the Birth of the Demon, Bride of the Demon stuff. 2 parts of the Demon trilogy.
Yeah, which is kind of because I don't know all that stuff, but that sounds counterintuitive for this particular episode, because this is a somewhat more character-driven episode than that.
Yeah, I think that he was doing most of this. Like, he was working in animation before he, like, really started writing Batman stuff. But there's stuff in Year 2. There's a collection of Mike Barr Batman that's coming out that's going to be Year 2, and then, like, a sequel story he did with the son of Joe Chill, and that's really bad.
Oh, that's a cool idea, but...
It's a cool idea. Batman Beyond, those comics did it better with, like, the long-distant relative of Joe Chill.
Was that during the Adam Beechin stuff, or was it later than that?
I think so. It was the 10,000 Clowns.
Oh!
It was part of, like, 10,000 Clowns.
I remember that now. Okay, yeah.
Get the box.
I haven't read all of that, but I remember liking it when I first read it.
I liked it, too. I've fallen off of Batman Beyond. I tried the first couple issues in Rebirth with Jurgens, and I just didn't care for it.
His new costume is awful. Batman Beyond gets a new costume in the current run, and it's just awful. He looks like Tron.
Why do we have to do that with the cool futuristic characters, Steve? We've done that to 2099 also, and I don't
get it. Batman Beyond's costume is my favorite Batman costume, so it's like being on the top of a mountain. No matter what you do, you are going downhill.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect design. It's like the Black Spider-Man costume.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like if you tweak that, don't tweak that. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to it.
But Batman.
Yeah.
The animation in this episode isn't great. People move kind of awkwardly all throughout this one.
It seems like an episode that doesn't do action real well, but it's more okay when people are just standing around talking.
Yeah. When we get to like the Rupert Thorne stuff in this episode, it's a little you stop noticing that, but like here, like the people's facial expressions and the way they're moving back and forth just looks weirdly unnatural.
Yeah. There is. I was about to mention something about the episode that we're doing after this.
Oh.
Not in this episode. Anyway.
This guy in the ambulance with the beard, I don't know why, but the way that beard is drawn, it looks like it'd be a disguise beard that Batman would wear. It doesn't look like his face is actually his face.
It probably is the Bruce Wayne character model underneath it.
Probably. That's hilarious.
Medical prototype.
I love that we engrave medical prototype on equipment like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a gun. Like, it's a surgical laser. It wouldn't be set up conveniently so you could pick it up and shoot at people.
I do like that it shoots off one of Batman's ears. That's fun.
Yeah, it seems like that would be an excuse to get lasers over regular guns in the show after this.
That's true, yeah.
Because they clearly have the technology to just go around with lasers.
Really expensive medical lasers, apparently.
Yeah, but like, you know, some gang could get a hold of it and reverse engineer it or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I also think it's kind of fun to contrive a reason for Batman to attack an ambulance.
That is kind of fun.
That just out of context is kind of a provocative image. Oh my god, Batman's attacking an ambulance!
You could do a story with that. I'd be down for that. I really like the idea of the crime doctor. I mean, I think you could do more with this episode, and like more of his history could have been explored, but just for 22 minutes, I think he's an interesting character.
Yeah, there are probably other stories that you could have told up to this point. Like where we get him at the end of this episode, I don't really want to see him come back. But this would have been an interesting character to have seeded earlier.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I really like.
And whenever thugs get messed up on the street or whatever, he shows up and fixes them.
Oh yeah. That if anything, they would have done that during Justice League probably. But I really like the whole medical ethics thing here. Like those are some complicated hairs to split, and if they actually did more with the backstory of that, it would have been maybe a better episode. Not that it's a bad one, but like there is some real potential here to do an even more long-form story.
Yeah, but having said that, it's kind of amazing that a show, again, kind of for, you know, somewhat for kids at this period, was tackling this kind of an issue.
Oh yeah, Thorne collapsing like that. I don't know how they got away with that.
Why do you say that?
Like, just the image of a cartoon character peeling over from having like seemingly a heart attack and his eyes rolling into the back of his head.
Yeah.
Like that's I don't mind it, but I don't know if Fox would have let that slip as easily as they did. Like Batman collapsing like this, that's fine, but like clutching your chest and your eyes rolling back, I don't know.
I didn't notice the eye roll back.
Here, take one of these every 4 hours.
Here's Leslie being passive-aggressively sarcastic. I hate her so much.
See, I don't mind that. You don't mind it with Alfred. Why is it a problem with her?
Because she actually means it. Alfred's just being fun and
No,
quippy.
no.
Leslie actually means it.
He often means it too. I mean,
I'll take another look. Stay in bed the whole day.
he has a lot of fun with it, but and he's sarcastic, but there's often a lot of frustration behind that, where it's like, you should get some sleep, you should drink some coffee, you should eat a sandwich. What's wrong with you? And she's not. That's pretty much what she's doing. It's just, you don't take care of yourself, and you're. I care about you. I want you to not get killed because of malnourishment or, not taking your medicine.
Right. Well, I mean, it's more of the comics thing. Like, Leslie lets people die to punish Batman and stuff like that. Like, she's just an unethical character in the comics, and that's what's irritating about it.
Oh, okay. I haven't read into her much in the comics. She doesn't do that in this.
She does do that in this. Although, now that I say that, you could bring the story into the comics and contrast this good doctor that lost his license for doing something, and then contrast it with Leslie.
I'm sorry.
Like, the trinity of the crime doctor, Leslie, and Thomas Wayne is a really cool idea you could play around with. And then the Telltale game stuff does some really interesting things with Thomas Wayne that I won't spoil.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten to those.
His character is really interesting. But, like, if you tacked more of that into this trinity of characters, it would go a long way in a comic story, I think.
Yeah, because we don't know very much about him at all in this show.
Yeah, we don't. We get a couple episodes with him. This is the big one, and then there's, like, one other episode that deals with, like, mob connections in the way, but it's not like you learn about Thomas Wayne. You just learn about someone framing Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I mean,
you might even really talked about it.
He's real generic. He's pretty much just a really altruistic doctor who raised his kid right. The end.
Yeah. How do you feel about retroactively bringing things up about the Waynes? Because I know people always argue that the Waynes are there to die, and you don't need more than that. But at the same time, I really like stuff like with Grant Morrison, where, like, you find out about, like, deep-seated Wayne family history and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super opinionated about it. It kind of just depends on what story I'm in.
So you want me to
I'm glad that that in the show at least we don't go to flashbacks a lot.
Yeah.
With that. Yeah, sometimes retroactively having, like, really, it'll get really convoluted, where you'll have a big long history that we didn't know about, and there's, like, conspiracies and stuff. I don't know. I don't often love that, but just having Bruce, like, find out little snippets of things that inform who he is now, I think is good.
Yeah. In Long Halloween, there's that thing with, like, Falcone's dad. When Carmine Falcone was injured, Falcone's dad took him to Thomas Wayne to get treated, and Bruce has this whole thing about, like, whether or not he should kill, and he asks Alfred about it, and Alfred tells him that story that regardless of who Carmine's life, and that's how Batman preserves his ethics throughout that story. And stuff like that's interesting.
I lost an ear. Well, that's okay. We still have 10,000 more of those. We didn't want to arouse suspicion.
Alfred says in that line that the next 10,000 will be up to specification. Did he ever get those, or was he always running around with the poorly made ones?
That's a really good question. We don't know. And what did he do with the first 10,000?
It's a good point. Does he have room for those? It's a small Batcave.
Yeah, it's not a real big area, but it is a big house.
That's true. Well, it burned down, so maybe he lost all 10,000. I don't know.
That's true. Although you wouldn't want to put them in the house because someone might find them.
That's true. I don't know. It's a complicated affair what Batman does with his faceplates.
And did he have to do that with any other pieces of his costume?
Two best friends. Love, Matt. My word. That's your father.
Well, the faceplates he made was for him.
I'm sorry, what?
The faceplate's was the only thing he got made. Everything else was conveniently lying around for him at Lucius Fox.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he didn't really have to make anything else.
I suppose he made the batarangs, but that's about it.
Maybe he ordered the boots.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, I think the crime doctor's character arc here is decent.
Yeah.
Like I buy that he's changing his mind when he does, and that he feels like he's being pushed to the limit here. I think it would have been really easy to force that, where at the beginning he's he seems kind of mustache twirly, and then at the end, all of a sudden, he's a human being. Having said that, I don't love. We talked over it. I don't love the scene where he walks into her place and kidnaps her.
Yeah, I don't love that either. I mean,
he's acting
I
weirdly
like...
sinister there. He's eating up the criminal aspect of that too much, and I'm not sure why. He's not Walter White, and he's acting real Walter White.
Well, he's like manipulating her in that situation, right? Like he's saying things he knows she can't say no to.
Well, I don't mind that. It's what he does just as he walks in, where he's acting.
Oh yeah, where it's like
he's acting real shadowy and intimidating, and I don't understand that. That's not this guy.
Well, like ideally, you would have just written the scene where like he gives them her name and they capture her for him, and like
he acted like he needed to be there to, I guess, so she wouldn't fight back. And I also initially get the sense that the reason he wants to go there is to try to make sure that they don't hurt her. But then he is like the scary enforcer in that scene.
Yeah, it's
and then he's not acting like that anymore. So like, is the idea supposed to be that he basks in that a little bit, where he actually kind of enjoys this life to some degree, where he no longer has a license and he's he's been forced to be a criminal, but there's like an aspect of that he enjoys. That's the only scene where you get any of a sense of that, and so it feels out of place and like it's out of character.
Yeah, I don't feel like all of that's intentional. I think that's just a poorly written scene, because the whole way through it feels like he's really regretful all the way through. Like what's his character name? He feels a lot like I can't remember his name. But there's an old medical drama where like there's this old doctor and he like hates everything. It's not like House, but it's sort of the same kind of sarcastic personality type, and the actor's like really Jeffrey Combs like. McCoy might be a good example, I guess, like McCoy in the new Star Trek movies, where like he is a doctor, but he also like seems to hate everybody.
Yeah, he seems like a more morally ambiguous version of the doctor from Diagnosis Murder.
Yeah.
He looks very Dick Van Dyke. He even sounds a little Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a good design, and his relationship to Thorne is, I think, legitimately interesting. It's just, again, not a lot's done with it.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of early Betty Brant.
Yeah.
In Spider-Man, who has a brother who's been forced into the mob, and she gets roped into that life but doesn't want anything to do with it. It's not the same situation as this at all.
Yeah, I've seen. It's a thing Stan Lee wrote a lot about in the early days, though. Yeah. Particularly with like early superhero comics in the Marvel Universe, everything was kind of mob affiliated. And a lot of Daredevil early Stan Lee stories are kind of like this.
Another thing that's kind of interesting about this episode is it puts it more firmly in a particular year, even though it's still a Gotham that looks out of time and very, very, 40s and noirish.
Yeah,
because we're told how long ago Bruce's father and Leslie and this guy were together. It was like 40 years, and then I think we even get dates in the yearbook.
I think so. And this, even with that, there's things like medical equipment that are just kind of hard to make look timeless.
Yeah.
We don't dwell on it too much here, but like, even if you wanted to like keep this in like almost a Metropolis sort of feel, it'd be difficult with like how far hospitals have come.
Forget it. It's not worth someone's life.
Yeah, but I like the amalgamation of periods. I like that we've got that laser thing in a really noirish looking universe.
Yeah, which is cool.
But I still think it's stupid that it's a gun. And it's weird that it's not used as a gun toward the end.
It looks very like it looks like it was designed to be a gun. It doesn't look like it was any sort of equipment. It's weird.
No, it's not a
and
medical
this guy
device.
that's unconscious a few scenes ago.
Yeah,
this guy that was unconscious a second ago looks a lot like Bullock.
Yeah, he does. No, it's like a space laser.
Yeah, it's weird. It looks like something you would play with in Halo.
This way.
Do you think his turn here is a little bit too quick?
Well, as I was saying, I was surprised that I didn't.
Yeah, like just thinking about it, it's the split second thing, but in the moment, I'm not bothered by it.
Well, it's not split second. He has a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes you think for a minute that he's gonna go along with them and kill her, but he has this whole plan he's worked out where he's got a syringe with a sedative instead of whatever he said he was gonna kill her with, and then he puts it in the thug that's with them. So like I don't think it's a fast turn. They've pushed him farther than he would be willing to go.
Does that potentially resolve the problem we had earlier with the Leslie scene where he kidnaps her? Like maybe he needed to do that to make it look like he was more on board with this and to sell everything up to breaking out?
Well, I'm not sure because he doesn't seem to expect that. Like because he says I'm gonna he says no, I want to take her home. You guys stay here, and they're like no, we're not taking her home. Thorne told us to take care of her, to kill her. And so the sense I get is this is kind of business, even though he doesn't want to do this. This is kind of business as usual for what Thorne makes him do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't really know what the point would be of an act in that earlier scene where he goes and gets her.
Right. I mean, unless he was
I really
unless
don't
he's
understand what the point of that was.
Unless like he's expecting for her to die, I don't know. It's still a bit of a weird scene.
Yeah. I think one of the better ideas in this episode is making them jump roofs.
Oh yeah, that is pretty cool. They're far more active in this episode than Batman really is, which is cool.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's real suspenseful, and they have to do a thing Batman does all the time without thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it works. It's kind of dramatic.
Yeah, I just find myself kind of invested because they did a good enough job of making him really sympathetic.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good character. I like him. It's kind of irritating that, like, the closer we get to the end of this particular set, the more the mob and Thorne stuff just starts to disappear. Because I feel like we were building around his empire really well. Like, we had a very good sense of the type of control Thorne had on the city.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that is a problem these Bruce Timm shows have quite a bit, where something will just kind of evaporate.
Yeah.
That we've been dealing with for a while.
Superman less so, because Superman didn't have much of an ongoing plot until he got to the Apocalypse stuff.
Yeah, but the big famous one, of course, is Batman Beyond.
Yeah, yeah.
The bit where that transition, where he's standing there and suddenly he's in this room, is kind of odd because the room behind him changes twice, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
I expected him to be in a to be standing in front of a judge.
Yeah, or at least getting the voiceover of a judge telling him that he's like going to prison or something.
Yeah. We talked over it, but that last scene, of course, is really heartfelt and well.
I love any time Bruce Wayne is like, tell me about my parents to anyone. Like, I just love that he would, as a person, would want to have that conversation.
Yeah, and it helps to humanize him and make him feel like a real person. And I like that this is an episode
and it's really cool because this entire episode, Batman is like very one-dimensional, going around beating people up, and then the last scene is asking for a very human thing. That's pretty cool.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is this episode much more about Bruce Wayne than it is about Batman?
Yeah.
And so they use so they use Batman as kind of the device just to make the episode happen, and Bruce Wayne is always present. But I like how they handle their personas there.
Yeah. It's a good final scene. It's a pretty good episode. It's not great, but it's good.
It's another really good example of how much they can get done in 22 minutes, I think.
Yeah. And it's good to, like, because we're getting closer and closer to the Ra's al Ghul stuff. It's good to have more of, like, these episodes before the show goes off the rails crazy. Not in a bad way, but in just a scale way.
Yeah, and when we get to the next episode, I feel like there's almost a there's like a really clear, almost tonal shift where we're getting to a different leg of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. They're growing more, and it helps that the next one's going to be written by Paul Dini. And so that one has more of a flow of, like, they know where the show is going because he's part of the show running team.
Because Paging the Crime Doctor very easily could have been a first season episode.
Yeah.
And
it feels like a fill-in episode.
We'll start to get into these episodes, starting with the next one, I think, that feel very much like a show that knows it's been on a long time.
Yeah. Because by this point, how many episodes is this? Like 60, 70?
Yeah. Yeah, we're starting to push 100.
Yeah, so... Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the end of this particular set, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how many more we've got. What is it? 5 or 6?
I think so. Ra's al Ghul starts in the first few episodes of Volume 3. But
we've got 3 more is all.
Oh, only 3 more.
Yeah,
wow,
it's Zatanna, it's the Mechanic, and it's Harley and Ivy, and that's it.
Okay, I like all 3 of those.
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
Me too. I don't think I like Zatanna as much as you do.
But that's just because I like Zatanna. Like, she's one of my favorite characters, so it's cool to see her in animation for the first time.
Well, I'm excited to listen to you talk about her. We'll get into that next week. Thanks a lot for listening, folks. We sure appreciate it. And we will see you again shortly with Zatanna. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve Axie.
Thanks, folks.